Welcome to Beyond the Red Carpet. Today I have someone who is going to be familiar to all those television watchers. James Denton, it's great to have you here. Welcome.
Well, thanks, Francine. It's nice to be here.
First of all, you're an actor, a musician, you're a jack of all trades.
Master of none.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that. You grew up in Tennessee, right?
Yep. Yes, ma'am.
I do not detect a Southern accent at all.
Really? Well, it's funny.
Yes.
I kind of spent my career hiding it. You know, I started doing theater in Chicago. I never intended to be in front of the camera. I was just a theater guy. And when I moved to Chicago, I realized I had to get rid of it. Otherwise, it would just be Tennessee Williams and Beth Henley back to back if I was lucky. So that's where I really started working on it. But it still comes out, you know, in some projects. We don't fight it much in this one because I play a musician who could be from anywhere. So it's, but thanks. I guess that's good. You don't want to be too good.
Okay. Before we get on to the movie that you're speaking about, I think it's fair to say that you've been in a lot of shows, obviously, but I think it's fair to say your two biggest series were Desperate Housewives and Good Witch. Is that fair?
It is, yeah. I was on The Pretender way back in the day in the late 90s, which was very popular, but that was back in the days of 3 networks. You know, that was pre-Fox. And it was a pretty solid show on Saturday nights. I was on it for 3 years. But yeah, it was nothing like, I mean, Housewives was the explosion. And then Good Witch, surprisingly, you know, we were number 2 on basic cable behind Walking Dead. You know, we did.
I love that show.
We did. You know, 4 million viewers a week on, you know, Live Plus 3. So yeah, Good Witch. People stop me all the time about Good Witch. It surprised me at the beginning, and I'm no longer surprised. It was very popular. Yeah. Yeah,
it was. And then I mean, my husband and I, we watched it every week. It was a good family show. I think it covered all age groups. So whether you're a teenager with Bailey Madison and the seniors like moi, but yeah, it covered everybody, and it was like,
it did. It was unique in that way with Bailey and Reese Bond, who played my son Nick. And then when they got older and went to college, I think the show sort of lost storylines for that age group. And so we just sort of let them go to college. They're both very busy. Of course, Bailey's blown up and Reese is busy. So we sort of let them go on to different things, and we missed them. But in the beginning, it was unique. And the show was, one of the better aspects of that show, I thought, was the Sam and Cassie family, seeing the Good Witch married and being a mom. Yeah.
Yes. Well, it was really enjoyable. And it's nice to catch it on some reruns sometimes. From Tennessee, we're gonna get to your latest projects in a second, but from Tennessee, you moved to Minnesota. Is that right? I read somewhere that you lived in Minnesota for quite a while.
Yep, I'm there right now. That's
really?
That's the sweater. Summer's over. When my kids were about 8 and 10 when Housewives finished, and their mom grew up in Minnesota. Her parents are here, sisters, cousins, and we thought it'd be better for the kids to, you know, LA's tough on kids. Also, school is hard. Where to send them? Can you do public, private, so expensive? So it makes sense. It was a family move for sure to come up here. And that's what we decided to do. And it was been great for the kids. My son's now a freshman in college. My daughter's a senior. So I have 1 more year of Minnesota. And then when she graduates, I'll probably head back to LA. But yeah, that's where I am now. And it was definitely good. And it worked great for Good Witch because we shot in Toronto. So it was just a 2-hour, really an hour and a half flight. And they flew me home every weekend. So it made Toronto and Good Witch much more practical.
Yes. Okay. Well, hopefully you'll come back to LA one of these days and we can see you in person.
Oh, that's my plan.
Yeah. Okay. Right now, October 16th, you have a new movie on Hallmark called Perfect Harmony, in which you star along with your son, Shepherd.
Yes.
Can you give us a little background on what that movie's all about?
Well, first off, I sort of co-star with Sherry Salm, who is the lead. And I just don't want to slight Sherry because she's so good in this. We didn't know Sherry. I'm a producer on the movie, so I was in the casting and everything. I had my hands on the whole project. It was a labor of love for most of a year. So Sherry plays my love interest and a college professor, but one of her students is my son, who gets to play my son this time. We did a movie together when he was 12, but he didn't play my son. So this was special now that he's 19. And it's a story about a musician who's sort of a washed up one-hit wonder pop star, who, when he lost his wife, kind of went into depression, lost the love of it, and quit performing. And now I run a guitar repair studio, and completely retired, 10 years out of the business. And some events happen that my best friend is getting married and asked me to be the best man. And the maid of honor is someone who I've never liked. We've always been oil and water, but we're forced to work together on this project. She happens to be my son's college professor in the movie, a poetry professor. And so that's where you get the typical, which you have to have the headbutting of the two so-called romantic leads. But we're asked to, out of strange course of events, perform at the wedding. They want me to sing again, which is, a terrible idea, I think. And she's not a singer, but it's a very funny circumstance that forces them to come together and have to perform at this wedding and figure out how to do it when they can't stand each other.
Well, and it's called Perfect Harmony. So obviously they work it out somehow.
Somebody does. Yeah, hopefully it's the two of them. But my son gets to play, not in the wedding, but there's a scene where we're just playing in the guitar shop, and he's a really great player, much better than I am. So much so that I added a line to the top of the scene where I say, "When did you get better than your old man?" Because I've played guitar since I was 12, and he's 5 times the player I am. So he gets to play a little, but I play a lot and play live. I do all the guitar in it. And there's one that's actually live. We shot in front of the cameras with mics and booms that we didn't do in the studio, which nobody does. So hopefully we'll get some credit for having the guts to do a little live on camera music.
Oh, that's cool. I can't wait to see that. Now that's coming out October 16th. Is that Hallmark or Hallmark Movies and Mysteries? Do you know?
It's going to premiere on Movies and Mysteries, and it'll probably go over to the network, I think, but I'm not sure about that. But it's coming. It's on Movies and Mysteries on the 16th.
Okay. And I did see For Love and Honor in 2016 that your son was in that as well.
Yeah, that was the first one I produced. Yeah, and he was so little we had his braces taken off to do the role and put back on. His voice hadn't even changed yet. So he's always been frustrated because he's really good in it. He plays a cadet. It's about a naval academy that I run, and he's the main cadet. It's a big role, but he's embarrassed to show people because he's such a little tyke. So this is good. This is fun for him to have an adult project on his IMDb page, because he's a musician by trade. He's on Spotify, and he releases a lot of music on which he plays guitars, bass, drums, keys, all the vocals. It's just him by himself. So he's a very talented musician.
Does he have ambitions to be an actor like his dad, or mostly a musician?
He's a musician at heart, but he loves acting, and there aren't many opportunities here. And I have a lot of gratitude to Hallmark for letting me cast him sight unseen. They didn't make him audition. They trusted me on both movies. But he's really, really talented. So he's smart enough to know it's a tough way to make a living. So he's in school getting a psychology degree. His sister also is a fantastic actress. She just got cast in the lead in Mamma Mia as a senior in high school, her first lead role. So she's out of her mind trying to learn the dances and everything. So I'm very lucky. They're both pretty talented, but he doesn't think being an actor is very practical. So he's gonna go after that psychology degree. But if he wants to chase it, I'd be hypocritical not to support it. So plus I think he's very good. So if he decides to, I'll back him as much as I can.
What is it like? Is it different working with your son on set versus another actor that is not a relative?
Wildly.
How do you work that out?
Wildly. You bite your tongue a lot. Luckily, like I said, he's very good. He's very smart. So he picked it up fast. You forget all the things you take for granted, hitting your marks without looking down, how close to have your eye line when you're doing off camera for the other person, all these things, not blocking light, feeling the light on the other actor. And, those things that just come naturally after 400 episodes of television I've done. But he learned it all like that. And so the few times that I felt like I could give him a tip, I had to kind of bite my tongue because I would never do that to another actor. So I let Stephen Skaney, who was brilliant with him, a good witch director, who directed this movie brilliantly. Stefan worked great with him. So I just you do a lot of tongue biting just because you want to not necessarily direct, but like just help like with eye line and give him a tip on something I could see struggling with. But I resisted. So I did helicopter and I let Stefan handle it.
Well, did he come to you in the evenings and say, hey, can you give me some tips here?
He didn't know, but he's wildly independent and a little proud, but he didn't really need it. I mean, there were only a couple of moments where he had any kind of, I wouldn't even say struggle with a scene, but where he had to really unload on me, my character, about the fact that I keep burying all this stuff about my former wife who passed away. And it's my son who's trying to crack me open. And so there's some scenes where he really lets me have it, which I think was hard for him to do because I was his dad. And I kept saying, no, come on, hit me with it, hit me with it. But that was kind of fun to see some of that interpersonal. And that's a cool thing about this movie that you can't buy, is the chemistry that we get, because also the couple getting married, played by Peter and Julia Benson, are married in real life. So they've got a lot of fun interaction that I don't think you can, good actors do it, but it's nice to have that baked in, that the father-son storyline and the couple getting married are also the same in real life.
How did this movie come to you?
John Eskenis, who ran Goodwitch for all 14 years, all 7 movies, all 7 seasons, and I have become very close friends. He's a fantastic producer. And I had a couple built into my Goodwitch deal, 3 actually. The For Love and Honor you mentioned with Shepard, then the Christmas movie with Terry Hatcher did last year, Kiss Before Christmas, the first Desperate Housewives reunion, which was very, very fun. And then we have one more to do. And John said, well, you play guitar, let's do something with music, because that's a little more unusual. And it's hard to be original when Hallmark does 80 or 90 a year. So we wanted to do something different. So we decided if we could get enough studio help, because I'm not a great musician, thank God for pitch correction, and those kinds of things, that we would try it. So there's original music in this. Jack Lenz is the music supervisor who did all the Goodwitch music. He played with Steely Dan and Kenny Loggins. He's a brilliant musician, and he wrote the songs. So there are 3 original songs in this that I have to perform. Yeah, John, we had the idea to try to do it, and then it just grew out of the idea of how can we build a Hallmark movie about a musician? And of course, you needed a wedding involved. And then, and then we just brainstormed it, John and I together, and brought it to the network.
So your daughter was in For Love and Honor, correct?
My daughter was in it, but I wouldn't let her speak because then I'd have to pay her. She played the bugle. She was the morning bugler when we raised the flag. But she was also, 10 or 11 years old. But must say, just got cast in the lead at Mamma Mia. So, as I said, so she's a brilliant little actress herself. So I don't want to slight her. But yeah, she was in it briefly, but she didn't get to say anything in For Love and Honor.
But there is no way you wanted to, or she could come into this perfect harmony with your son.
Well, there wasn't room. There wasn't room, and they wanted it to be a boy or a man, a son, because of the father-son dynamic, and that made more sense because he had done it. Also, she was a little bit nervous because she had never done it. He had a little more experience, with he had some heavy lifting in For Love and Honor. So he had done it before, and I think Hallmark was more comfortable with him because they knew he was number probably 3 or 4 on the call sheet in For Love and Honor. So and she had the high school play as well, coming up, and so yeah, she was happy to not be in the movie. I think. So talent. She didn't complain, Francine. I don't know how happy she.
Well, talent apparently runs in your family.
They get it from their mom. Trust me, their mom has an MFA from NYU and is a brilliant actress and singer. So yeah, maybe I've got a little bit of DNA in there, but luckily they get a lot from their mom.
Well, you need to do a whole family movie now. You have to pitch that to Hallmark.
That'd be fun. Well, it'd be interesting because we probably could, because they're all very good actors. It'd be tough. I don't know. It'd be hard to find 4 that, well, 3, I won't speak for myself, but all 3 of them are very talented. So that would be pretty crazy.
I think that'd be kind of cool.
Video Hallmark experiment.
Yes. Well, you are firmly entrenched in Hallmark now.
Happily.
Yes. I love that they have their stable of great actors that they mix and match a lot. Do you have anything else on the books at the present time, or are you just kind of winging it until something else comes along?
Funny you should ask, Francine. This was the last one in my contract. So I was a little bit sad. I told Laura Gaines, our Hallmark exec, who was wonderful and really got this movie made for us. I told her I felt like I was dropping my kid off the first day of daycare when we delivered the movie, because I spent so much time on it. And it's really a labor of love. So we decided, well, let's do another one just because the contract's over. We don't have to stop. So we do have another one in the pipeline that's in production over there, very early, but we're hoping to do it in the spring. Same team with John Eskenis and Kim Bradley, the same producers. And so, yeah, I think I got at least one more in me.
Oh, you've got more than that. What about a Christmas movie? I mean, they're always coming. They do so many Christmas.
They do half. They do about 40 Christmas and then about 30 or 40 others. And I've only done one. So it's funny. Yeah. I'd love to do one, but again, I don't want to do one that's been done. And I think that's really hard to not repeat. So that's been tricky finding. That's why we decided not to do a Christmas movie with my last one, because it was just so hard to find something that I felt like broke any new ground. They managed to do it, but we couldn't come up with one.
Yeah. Well, you should film it in Minnesota, then you'd have the snow there. So yeah.
Right. Yeah. Just stay home. Well, we did both Perfect Harmony and Kiss Before Christmas in Winnipeg, and I drove. It's just 7 hours up the road. So we almost did it at home.
Okay. Singing, musician, actor, which one does your heart tell you that you like to do the best? I mean, if you could only, I mean, this is a hard question, but if you could only do one, which one is the one? I think
you hear this a lot. People always, actors want to be singers.
They want to.
Singers want to act, do Tim McGraw, but I'm not a good enough singer. I think I would be so self-conscious that I'm a theater guy. Now, if I were talented enough to be comfortable, I played in a charity band with Hugh Laurie and Greg Grunberg and a bunch of TV guys called Band from TV for years, and we raised a lot of money for charity, and that was fun, pretending to be a rock star. But I'm not quite enough musician for that. So, but I do believe even if I were theater, I mean, I was an advertising guy and never acted until I was almost 30, and I quit it all to do theater because I fell in love with it. So I think, given all things equal, I would do theater full time if I could survive.
Yeah, well, then we wouldn't be able to see you on Hallmark.
Well, that's true. I appreciate it. So I could do maybe Hallmark movies on the side.
Yes. Going back to Good Witch. I mean, I thought, what do you think the chemistry? What was the one thing that really made it so perfect? I mean, it really was perfect with the cast and everything. What was it about the characters that we just really enjoyed watching?
Well, I appreciate you saying that. And the answer is easy. It's Catherine Bell. I mean, Catherine is extremely likable, extremely talented. She had a quality that Cassie had to have. And I can say that because she's the only through line. It was a 14-year franchise and everybody else came and went. I wasn't there for the movies. Chris Potter left and wasn't there for the TV show. Kathy Disher, who plays Martha. Whoa, Martha. Who's so fantastic. I mean, she's a big part of it too. I mean, Mayor Tisdale was big in that franchise, and Kathy's a very talented actress. But Catherine was the anchor. Everybody else came and went. I think the show. I mean, I hope that I helped the show. Chris Potter couldn't do it because he was on Heartland. So I think I kept the ball rolling for Chris, but Catherine was the anchor, and then. I think people enjoyed the fact that she brought people together. In typical Hallmark fashion, there was always a happy ending. And so the B&B aspect where the guest stars could come and go and the main character stayed the same, but it was almost episodic in that way, where you could get different storylines. But it was always Cassie, and it was always how she would do it, how she would get the people together. And then Catherine just, people love her. I mean, she's one of the few actresses. She's been a lead on 3 series that went more than 7 years or more.
Yeah, Jag.
Jag, Army Wives, and Good Witch, and that's I mean that's pretty solid track record. People like you.
Well, okay, so Desperate Housewives, that was really good. I mean,
it wasn't on Hallmark.
No, it wasn't. But between Good Witch and Desperate Housewives.
For good reason.
People, really. People come up to you and know you more for which one? Which one are you most recognizable in?
It's half and half, Francine. It's amazing. For years, I assumed It was when someone would stop me, because you get to where you can see it coming, when somebody recognizes you or they're not really quite sure who you are or how they know you. And I would assume it was Housewives because it was the #1 show in the world, I think, in '05. And so for years, it was tough to go anywhere because the show was so popular. It wasn't about me. I was a passenger on the train. But I always assumed it was Housewives, but it's not anymore. I mean, Good Witch, we did 3 or 4 million viewers a week. It was a very popular show. So it's about half and half.
When your kids were growing up and people would come over for autographs or to meet you, did they resent that, or did they think, hey, that's cool, that's dad, or do they just think, oh, that's just part of your job?
When we first moved to Minnesota, I think it was eye-opening for the kids that they were known as the children of the guy from Desperate Housewives, because the show had just ended and we moved to a smallish suburb. So they were used to people coming up to our table at restaurants and stopping us in the in the mall. And I mean, you could at the top of Housewives, I couldn't go to the mall. I couldn't go to the grocery store. Again, it was not about me. I mean, I was fortunate to be a part of it. So they grew up with it. But I think it was odd when they got to be like middle school age, and that's how they were known. They never complained, but I'm sure there was a part of it they would have liked to have done without. But it was a good way for them to meet people. Being the new kids in town is not easy, so it gave them a little of an entree, to have conversations with people because kids, they had sort of a reputation that preceded them. So I think it helped. I hope it did, your to a new town.
Well, we're both of them. I keep thinking of Shepard because he's in the movie, but
right.
But your daughter's name is Malin?
Malin,
Malin, okay. Were there? I always wonder this with children of celebrities. Did they have conflict knowing whether their friends wanted to be friends with them or because of their famous father? Because that seems to be something that does bother a lot of kids of celebrities at times. And did they ever mention anything about that?
That's a brilliant question. And yes, it happened. Not so much with my son. My daughter, I know, got tired of it because she had a couple of friends who clearly were interested in being friends because their mom wanted to meet, meet the guy from the show or whatever. And then as you find that out, it's kind of hurtful to kids. And it didn't happen often because luckily, she's very friendly and has a lot of friends. But the early days, there were people, because that was still play date age. She was 10. So you're still arranging play dates. And so kids would sort of maybe feign interest or their mothers would go out of their way to arrange a play date. And then you would find out. And there was no chemistry between the children. And my daughter was outspoken about it for a very brief period in middle school where it really bothered her. So I felt for her. So we tried to just, I traveled a lot. I was on Good Witch and I just would stay away. I would stay out of, I let her mom handle all of that stuff. And so once they realized they weren't going to get a Terry Hatcher autograph by being friends with my daughter, then she got some more real relationships. But yeah, it was an issue. Yeah.
Well, I can see where the moms would want to come over to your house to see you.
Again, it's one of those things I never ever. We're so lucky to have a show that popular that I never complained. I never said no to anyone who wanted a picture or an autograph because I was lucky to be on a show that people loved. I've been on a lot of shows that nobody watched, shows that you're just anybody in a suit that shows up on set that you don't recognize, you're being canceled, you spend the whole day. So it was great on Housewives to know you had 20 million people watching your work. So I never complained. And that was just a small thing to deal with, but you have to be aware of how it affects your family.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I have heard a lot of children of celebrities who just resent that because, like I said, the parents.
Or keep it to themselves. Like I guarantee you, my son is not telling anybody in college until they're friends. And then I think he's proud of it. But they keep it to themselves. But in a small town, especially we moved, Housewives hadn't even stopped airing when we moved here. It was the very last season, so that was tough timing for them to try to hide.
So your daughter, so your son is going into psychology, did you say?
Yep.
What do you think your daughter is going to be going into?
She's a really good writer. So she's interested in journalism, which is such a crazy, as you know, changing field right now, as it's becoming all electronic almost. But she is a good writer. So she's hoping to study journalism. And then who knows, when she's out of school in 5 years, what the formats will be or the outlets. But she wants to write. I know that.
It's crazy because I'm still a print dinosaur. I really am, and nobody does print anymore. So it's crazy. It's a crazy world.
And it's I mean, I hate to say it, it makes us sound ancient, but it's sad. And it's something really heartbreaking about the morning paper disappearing. Even though they are still out there, but you know what I mean, being at the foot of everybody's driveway, and and everybody knowing what's in the paper.
You just dated yourself.
Oh yeah, we're definitely the same generation.
Yes, definitely.
Yes, but I do. We used to get the afternoon paper too, the Nashville Tennessean and the Nashville Banner. The Nashville Banner was the afternoon. Both were in my driveway every day. My folks read both newspapers. So I miss it.
So when you grew up, were you close to Nashville or are you somewhere else?
Just outside a tiny little town called Goodlettsville, just outside of Nashville. Yeah.
So did the country music influence you at all when you were growing up?
The only influence it had, and it wasn't so much country, is just there are a lot of musicians in your friends' families. So you get handed a guitar when you're about 12. So I played my whole life, been an average as a strummer, rhythm player, but that may be because of the atmosphere, but it made me hate country music because you're just inundated with it and you're tired of being from Country Music USA. So I never listened to country until I moved away and then got homesick for it. When I went to Chicago to do theater, I caught myself listening to country all the time, and it just made me chuckle because that's how you are when you're a kid. You rebel.
Yeah. I love Nashville. I really do. We go back there when we can. Yeah.
It's a fun town.
It really is. Okay, well, I appreciate you coming on so much. This has been wonderful. So let's recap a little bit of Perfect Harmony on Hallmark Movies and Mysteries, or Mysteries and Movies. I always mess that one up.
It's Movies and Mysteries, yeah.
Okay.
I know, but
get mad at me.
Let's say HMM, Francine. That's what they call it. HMM.
Yeah. Hallmark. I mean, the people down here in Southern California love Hallmark. I mean, Hallmark is really a mainstay for most of the viewers of the show. So I'm so happy to have you. And it's October 16th.
Yep, Sunday night.
Sunday night. It's a good time slot. And I'm sure we'll all be tuning in for that. I didn't get a screener in advance, so I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Oh, I'm sorry. We'll try to get you one. Yeah, but it's it's funny. I have to differentiate because a lot of people have told me I can't find it. I can't find any promo for it because they're looking at the Hallmark Channel. So it's a little tricky to make sure people know. But Movies and Mysteries is growing very rapidly, and they the content is slightly different. If you've noticed, you get a little deeper dive into emotional stuff. But it's still purely a Hallmark movie. But it's over there at HMM. Great.
Well, Hallmark is a great place, and I'm glad you are one of their Hallmark hunks, as they say.
I'm hanging on, Francine. I'm at the end. I mean, that window's closing for me, but I'm hanging in there. Thank you.
No. You are a beloved actor for us, and we look forward to seeing you on October 16th. So hopefully we'll have you back again when your next movie comes out.
Yes, I hope so. Thanks.
Okay. Well, thank you all for joining us. We'll see you next time when we take another look beyond the red carpet.
With over 30 years of experience in real estate and the mortgage industry, Darlene Mays provides knowledge and expert guidance to clients looking to buy or sell a home. Serving clients throughout South Orange County, Darlene specializes in the senior community of Laguna Woods Village. Darlene works with her clients to ensure the highest level of service, from the beginning of the process right down to the closing table. If you are looking to buy or sell, who you work with really does matter. Call Darlene Mays today.